Welcome to the Wealthy Woman's Podcast, a podcast for high-achieving women who are great at making money but struggle to build wealth. You'll learn how to take control of your money, increase your net worth, and make more. Ladies, it's time to create a life with more money and more freedom. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I am so pumped up for the topic that we're going to discuss this week, and I hope you all are having a fabulous beginning of your week. I had a great weekend, you all. I had my girls' weekend with my friends. We do this every year. We try to get together every year and do something fun and just spend time together and uplift each other and encourage each other and just have lots and lots of fun. We laughed, we cried, we did all of the things. And so I am so refreshed and so excited again about this particular episode because we're talking about how to design your wealthy life. Okay. So everybody has a different definition of what it means to live a wealthy life. And I am not just talking about money here. I'm talking about your quality of life. You live in a life where you're able to experience all the things that truly matter to you. Because I think some of us want to be wealthy so that we can just spend a lot of money, and especially in this age of Instagram and TikTok, and where you get to see all of the things that all of the famous people are doing. We get to see what they're doing on a regular basis. If you think about years ago, before social media, there was a saying that people were trying to keep up with the Joneses, but the Joneses were only in your neighborhood. They weren't everywhere. So for instance, if you go outside, you may see them coming down the street in their brand new car. And then you think, oh, I need to have a new car too, right? That was kind of the extent of it. It wasn't so in your face where everybody that you know and don't know are constantly posting #blessed and the new car they're driving and the party they just threw and the new bag they're carrying, right? And we can get caught up in thinking that that's the wealthy life that you want because you see everybody flaunting and showing all of the great things in their lives, but they're not showing you the other part, right? Life is 50-50. We're going to talk about that in a minute. 50% positive and 50% negative. And I actually had a really good reminder of this recently. There is a lady who I am friends with on Facebook, and it seems like she has it all, right? And I think she really does materially. They live in a mansion. They have a beautiful backyard with a beautiful pool. They have 3 children. Her husband is like the CEO of a huge company, or maybe the CFO of a huge company. Money's not an issue at all. And she consistently posts like the parties that they go to, the dresses that she wears, the gifts that her husband buys her. And she's a wonderful lady. And I'm always excited to see, her living her best life. And recently she put a post up of her son's 21st birthday. And you can tell that her son has a medical condition, but he is doing really well. And her post said, we were told that we would never see this day. Every year, they tell us this is the last year that we may have you, and here we are celebrating your 21st birthday. And that just made me pause to think, wow, I look at her, and I'm sure so many other people look at her like she has it all. But this woman has a 50-50 life, 50% amazing and 50% horrible, right? Because she has a child that has a terminal illness, and all of his life, she's been told that this might be the last year. So just to kind of put things in perspective. So when we are looking at all of the images, all of the #blessed posts, just remember that it's only one side of it. And a lot of times people are hurting, people are not living the life that you think they live. So don't try to mimic other people's lives. Figure out what it means for you to live your best life and then go about your business doing that versus trying to quote unquote keep up with the Joneses. And I really wasn't even planning to go there, but I'm glad I did because I think it's a message that we need to hear often. Don't try to keep up with these social media posts, these influencers who are getting paid to show you things so that you go and buy it, right? So please, whatever you do, don't ever try to mimic someone else's life. Figure out what it means for you to live your best life and put on your blinders and go live it, right? And that is what we're talking about today, about how you can create your wealthy life. There are 3 steps I'm going to give you, and let's get into it. Now, before we get into the 3 steps, I want to talk about the gist of what this conversation is going to be about. I really want you to embrace this concept right here, to spend on things that matter to you and to stop spending on things that don't. Okay? Because here's the truth. Spending on any and everything without regards, without intention, is not living a wealthy life. This kind of living actually robs you from the ability to live a wealthy life, right? So spending your money unintentionally on any and everything is not what it means to live a good, wealthy life. That is not the definition of it. I think a lot of people have this confused. They think, well, I just want to be able to buy what I want when I want it. You're going to want so many things in your life that aren't good for you, that will cause you to go broke if you just constantly indulge in it, right? So I think really understanding the 3 things I'm about to share with you and living your life this way will really help you to constrain and spend on things that truly can help you to live your best wealthy life. All right, let's get to the 3 things. Number 1, commit to using your money as a tool to enhance the quality of your life, not as a tool to alter your emotions. There is a big difference, and I'm going to say it again. Commit to using your money as a tool to enhance the quality of your life, not as a tool to alter your emotions. Here's what I want you to know. Life in itself, and I mentioned this earlier, is 50-50. 50% amazing and 50% not so amazing. This is the human experience. There is not one person on this earth that will just be happy all of the time. And to be happy all of the time is not the goal. And if that is what you're striving for, then maybe you're doing a lot of things to cope with the negative emotions that life will often throw to us because we're humans. And so life is 50-50. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to have all of the amazing, positive feeling, good feeling emotions about 50% of the time. And you're going to have the uncomfortable, sad, quote unquote, negative emotions the other 50% of the time. And this could happen over your lifetime, right? So some seasons of your life might be, the positive 50, and then other seasons may be the negative 50. Or it could just be intertwined. Like you can have highs and lows in one day. I was recently coaching someone who experienced that. She had some amazing things happen in her business. She has her own business, and she had some amazing things happen like in one day, and then some really bad things that happen in the same day, all concerning her business. And I was able to really coach her on like, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing has gone wrong. This is the human experience. And can we hold both? The problem comes in when we try to escape the human experience, when we put up a buffer between us and the uncomfortable emotions. In the school I was certified in, we call this buffering. So instead of feeling bored, knowing that boredom is just a part of the human experience, and sometimes boredom is there to teach us something or to tell us something, and there is actually something we can learn from our boredom. Instead of kind of processing through that and figuring out, okay, why am I bored consistently? What is missing? What should I be focusing my time on? Am I bored? Am I not fulfilled? Is there something more that I'm being called to do with my life? That is a great way to deal with boredom. But many of us don't even allow ourselves to feel boredom because it's so uncomfortable. And instead we buffer. We buffer with spending, we buffer with eating, we buffer with drinking, we buffer with all sorts of things. And then we never ever get to really understand where the boredom is coming from. We never ever get to learn the lesson that the boredom may be there to teach us. We never get to follow our dreams and figure out that, oh, I'm just feeling stagnant. I'm just feeling stuck. This dream that I've had all these years, I'm not following it. And that's why Boredom is constantly an emotion that I have, and you never really get to come to terms with that because you're buffering all the time. So as soon as you're bored, you're shopping. As soon as you're bored, you're drinking alcohol. As soon as you're bored, you're eating Oreos. Instead of trying to understand where the emotion is coming from, we do other things, and it prevents us from ever evolving and growing. And on top of that, it causes us to have negative consequences. If you're constantly spending to entertain yourself when you're bored or when you're feeling disappointed, you're constantly spending to make yourself feel better and not really dealing with why you're disappointed, what lessons you can learn from the disappointment, then it's like you don't learn, you don't grow, you can still stay stagnant. Whatever problems that are there are still there. Whatever thought processes and mindsets that you have, they're still there. They're not being dealt with. And you have the negative consequence of less money, not meeting your financial goals, going into credit card debt. So it's like a catch-22. You're not growing and you are masking those feelings that only last for a few minutes, right? You get the high of the buy, so you temporarily distract yourself from the feeling, but it's still there. It's still there under the surface and it will come back. And then you're going to be in this vicious cycle where you feel like, okay, I got to get rid of it again. And then you spend again. And then you keep perpetuating the same cycle over and over and over again. And here's what I want you to know. Really listen to me on this one. There isn't enough money in the world to compensate or to overcome your human emotions. And when we try to use our money to do that, that's when we have none. So the goal is, if you really want to live your best life, your wealthy life, commit to using your money as a tool to enhance the quality of your life and not as a tool to alter your emotions. Okay, now let's go on to number 2. Number 2 is to define what it means for you to live a quality life. Everybody has a different definition of what it means for them to live a quality, wealthy life. Okay. So inside of my coaching programs, if you work with me privately, I do offer one-to-one coaching for anyone who's interested in having someone in your corner, holding space for you to reach whatever financial goals you have, someone who has been there, done that, who can help you to really accelerate your financial growth. Then you are invited to go to the show notes and book a consultation, an interest call if you want private coaching. I do have spots available for that. Or I also have the Wealthy Woman's Academy, which is my year-long group program. So no matter which process you choose to go through, if you work with me, the first thing we're going to do is discover and prioritize what you value most so that you can use your money in a way that lets you fulfill your unique values. So this is where we begin, because we can't really start creating that wealthy life or building wealth if we don't get clear on what's most important to you, so that we can align your spending towards those things and take it away from things that really are not what's most important to you. Okay. Now, once you do this, once you have your values, then we sit down and use your prefrontal cortex, that adult part of your brain, to consciously decide how you will fulfill and live out those values. Now, some values that my clients come up with, they don't cost a dime. They're free. So you don't even need to align your spending towards those values. Like, for instance, integrity, kindness. Sometimes there could be money involved with those things, but the truth is you can be kind without spending money. The truth is you can have integrity in everything you do without spending money, unless you're, faced with the decision to cheat on your taxes or something like that, right? Having integrity will cause you to maybe pay more in taxes, right? But we're not really talking about that. We're talking about more of your character. That's a character issue. Okay. So once you figure out what those values are, you'll see that, okay, a lot of the things that I value don't even cost money, right? And so I can be kind, I can have integrity and not spend money fulfilling those values. But there are values, quite a bit of values, that do cost money. Like, for instance, your appearance. That may cost money. So a lot of times my clients discover, hey, I value my appearance. My appearance is important to me. And so what we do at that point is figure out how they will fulfill these values and understand that what is most important to them is that they look good. And maybe they discover that with that thought process, I enjoy looking good. I love, beauty and things like that, but they're overspending in those areas to compensate for that. And when we really get deep into it, we can find that it's more about quality over quantity. You may have a closet full of really nice clothes and you're constantly shopping. So at that point, it's not that you're trying to fulfill a value. You've already fulfilled the value. Then maybe you're using your money as a tool to alter your emotions instead of as a tool to enhance the quality of your life. And then the other thing you can decide is like, okay, how do I want to continue to fulfill this value? I already have some beautiful things, but maybe I want to allow myself to have seasonal wardrobe refreshes versus impulsive shopping sprees. So you can sit down and think, how can I fulfill this value in a way that is going to allow me to live my best life, where I am fulfilling my values and I'm also fulfilling my wealth goals, my money goals. I'm building wealth. I'm having money. I'm not spending all my money on random things. So this is something that I really struggle with. Appearance is very important to me as well. And I used to just tell myself back when I used to overspend and I had a ton of debt that I just like to shop. Like it was my form of entertainment. And so there's a difference, right? Today, I still value my appearance. But the way I fulfill that value is so different now. Instead of going to places like TJ Maxx and Marshall's and just scouring through the clearance items and the things that, were overstock at the department stores and just buying, I have found that I much rather have a few beautiful quality pieces versus tons and tons of cheap clothing that I never wear. And that's something that I really had to recognize about myself. Like I would go to TJ Maxx and buy 6 or 7 items and my justification was it's only $20, it's only $25. But of course, if you do that consistently, every week you're going there, every time you're bored, you're going there, every time you're having a bad day, you're going there for retail therapy, that stuff adds up. And what I noticed was I don't wear that stuff. Like I will buy it and it will just hang in my closet. I can go in my closet right now and I have things that have been hanging there for probably several years that are from TJ Maxx, Marshalls, or Burlington Coat Factory, which is kind of like a TJ Maxx or Marshalls. Things that were marked way down, $25, and I justified it because I liked to shop. That was one thing, but I also value my appearance, right? And so they were kind of intertwined. But now that I am committed to using my money as a tool to enhance the quality of my life and not as a tool to alter my emotions, I no longer do that, right? I'd rather spend a few more dollars or maybe a lot of more dollars on something that I am going to get a lot of wear out of and that is classic and that will last me for years and years to come. And so that is the way that I have used my prefrontal cortex to decide how I'm going to fulfill my value of appearance. So I am going to spend my money on quality items and I'm going to do seasonal wardrobe refreshes because I know that the things that I have in my closet are classic. They go with lots of things and I can mix and match versus constantly buying a bunch of cheaper items that end up collecting dust in my closet or end up being donated to the Goodwill several years down the road. Another value that sometimes I see is travel or fun or adventure. And this is another thing I think you can really use your prefrontal cortex on. I had a client who really valued travel and they would just travel on a whim without regards. And it was really costing them the ability to save. It was costing them the ability to stay out of debt because they were constantly putting trips and things on their credit cards. They didn't have a plan. And so once they figured out that this was one of their values, we were able to plan for their vacationing ahead of time. And to also decide like which vacations do you want to take? For us, for my family, we know we want to take a couple family vacations, maybe a big one every year and maybe a smaller one every year. We want to have a couple's vacation and I have to have my girls' trip. We just talked about that at the beginning. We just did it this last weekend. And so if I know, or if you know that is what's important to you and you want to do this every year, then you can start planning for it. I highly recommend that you have a travel account that you're contributing to on a monthly basis so that you are putting money away. So when it's time to travel, it's not a burden and you're not having to go into credit card debt that you can't pay off within 30 days, right? So it's just like you don't have to stop doing the things you value. It's that you do it in a smarter way. You do it with your prefrontal cortex in charge. Now, the other thing that is always on my client's value list, which makes sense, right? If they're my client, they want to build wealth. They always have financial security or abundance or wealth on their values list. And this is also the one value that is always, always underfunded. And this leads us to point number 3. Point number 3 is to prioritize having money and building wealth. As I said, when I take them through this exercise in the Wealthy Woman's Academy, or if you work with me privately, financial security is always on the list and it's typically always, always underfunded. So this is how you make this right. Make sure that you're setting big financial goals. Big ones, not small ones, big ones. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. We underestimate what we can do in the long term, and we overestimate what we can do in the short term. So I recommend that you set a really, really big goal and make it like a 10-year goal. For instance, you could say, I want to have a net worth of $500,000 in 10 years, or I want to have a net worth of $1 million in 10 years. That is a big goal, but it's also a fun, like, oh my God, in 10 years, I can literally be a millionaire. In 10 years, I can literally have a net worth of $500,000. That would be amazing. You get to fantasize about it. You get to dream about it. You get to feel in your body what that would be like, which is all really, really cool. And that could be your guiding light. That can be the thing that you're working towards over the next 10 years. Now, after you've figured out what your big goal is, I want you to come back to today and ask, what's one thing I can do to get a little closer to my goal? Just a little closer. Here's why. This big goal that you have, the $1 million goal, this will not happen in a linear way. It's not like you're going to take the $500,000. Let's say that's your goal. You want to have a $500,000 net worth. You're not going to take the $500,000 and divide it by 10 and say, oh, that means I need to increase my net worth by $50,000 every year. That would put your brain in freak out mode and you would just want to give up and not even try, right? Remember, we underestimate what we can do in the long term. So your brain is underestimating what you can accomplish in 10 years. But it loves to overestimate what we can do in the short term. So it will tell you something like, yeah, I may not be able to do 50,000, but maybe I could do 20. If I just give up everything I love, put myself on a strict budget, go on a no spend diet, then maybe I can do it, right? It's overestimating what you can do in the short term. So I want you to flip that. Let's dream really, really big for the long term. And then let's come back to today and just say, what's just one thing I can do within the next couple of months that's going to move me closer? What's one thing I can do this month that will move me closer? And then once you accomplish that, then set something else and set something else. And what you're doing is you're deconditioning yourself from doing things that move you further from your goal, and you're conditioning yourself to move you towards your goal. And remember, we're not going to focus on how you're going to reach that big goal. But one thing that could literally put a fire under your foot is why you want to reach that big goal. What would you be able to do for your children? What would you be able to do for your grandchildren? How could you live? How could you travel if you created that for yourself? What could you do as far as giving and charity and generosity goes? It's so amazing to think about it. So remember, we're not going to focus on how. We're not going to divide $500,000 by 10 and say, okay, I got to increase my net worth by $50,000 every single year for 10 years. We're not going to do that. We're not going to try to figure out how. We're going to instead focus on why we want to do it. And that is going to give us the fuel to get moving. And then you can bring, like I said, bring it back to today and say, what can I do this month? Maybe I can save $500 this month. And then also I want you to be able to leave room for miracles and possibility and favor from God, right? Because when I was paying off my $200,000 worth of debt, I will tell you, miracles happened, favor happened. It was some amazing things that happened just because I was taking steps towards that big dream I had. Now, what I like to call these smaller goals are stair-step goals. It's the one thing you can do today, this month, in the near future to take one step up the ladder to your goal. So think of your big goal, $500,000, as something that's at the top of a very long, steep staircase. And you want to get to the top of the staircase, but you're not going to be able to just leapfrog all the way up there, right? But you know you want to get up there. That's your goal. You know you can get up there if you just take one step and then another step and another step. You know that's possible. So a stair-step goal is just that one step up. Now, if you want help with this, then you are invited to go to the show notes or go to www.jermainefoley.com/WWA. This is where you can get support either in a group setting or with me privately. If you want private coaching, just go to the show notes and click book an interest call. Here's what I want you to know about why it's so important to take this step if that is what you're interested in. If you're feeling that nudge, then the Wealthy Woman's Academy could be exactly what you're looking for because you'll have me as your coach. I'll be there for you every single step of the way. I've already done most of the heavy lifting for you. You're going to get coaching, support, guidance. You're also going to get a curriculum that's going to help you to reprogram your brain and give you a new way of thinking about money and what is possible for you. And you're also going to get a community where you're going to get invited every week to a group coaching call. Some days you may come and you may be the only one, so you get some private coaching. But other days there may be other people there and you'll get to see and hear from them and learn from them. When you hear someone else get coaching, it's almost like the coaching is for you. One of the questions you can always ask is, how does this apply to me? And when you have this kind of support, when you're surrounded by this kind of community and this new way of thinking, it makes it so much easier and simpler to get the financial results that you want. You will be in a space where your goals, your dreams, and the life that you want is held in place for you. And all you have to do is do the work, but you're not doing it alone. You're doing it in a safe place where it's safe to fail, where it's safe to make mistakes and get back on track again. That is what you get when you have me as your coach, either if it's privately or if it's inside of the Wealthy Woman's Academy. So if you're interested in the Wealthy Woman's Academy, just go to jermainefoley.com/WWA. And if private coaching is more of what you're looking for, then just go to the show notes and click book an interest call, and you will get the link to book a consultation, and then we will get on the Zoom and chat and go from there. Okay. But regardless, commit to living a wealthy life. Commit to using your money as a tool to enhance your life and not as a tool to alter your emotions. All right, I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, before you go, if you're ready to create a life with more money and more freedom, then you're invited to join the Wealthy Woman's Academy, my signature coaching program where you'll learn how to take control of your money and build wealth without sacrificing your lifestyle. To get started, head on over to jermainefoley.com/WWA. That's Jermaine with a G. See you over there. Bye-bye.